Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye. Bye. Let's get straight to the intro. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content I stay kicking. And I appreciate your support, man. I'm very humbled by it. So I was asked a question the other day, and I felt I should elaborate on the answer of this question, right? And the question was simply, what happened to Isauro Aguirre, the murderer of baby Gabriel Fernandez? Excuse me, Emmanuel's on my mind, right? And also, is the father also to blame for not taking better care of his son? Well, first and foremost, let's not put too much on the father's plate without the answer. Okay, so as far as Isauro Aguirre, he is housed at Corcoran State Prison, and he is housed on an SNY yard, meaning he has a sensitive need, the sensitive need being the nature of his case. Now, is this the first time that he's been in prison? No. Is this the last time he's going to be in prison? Yes, because we don't see that man getting out in the foreseeable future. If you do know the case and have kept up with the Gabriel Fernandez case, himself and Pearl were both given life sentences. Okay, Gabriel Fernandez's killers are never going to walk the streets ever again unless some new law passes and unless hell freezes over. Okay, as far as Isauro Aguirre, he was actually sentenced to the death penalty, to which California no longer does or acknowledges the death penalty. So all those guys that were on death row in San Quentin, a lot of their cases were either overturned and they got life sentences, life without the possibility of parole, or a lot of them were just rehoused, housed under a life sentence, right? Still condemned men, but housed under a life sentence. And Isauro Aguirre was one of those guys, and he was placed in Corcoran Prison. Now, subsequently, since him getting to Corcoran Prison, there's been several incidences where he got caught lacking. I talked about an incident that happened over a year and a half ago where he was on the tier and someone caught him slipping. Now, that's not to say that this is not going to continue to happen because of the nature of his case and because why he's incarcerated. But so much time has passed that it's kind of like the forgive and forget thing. It's kind of like, man, water under the bridge. People forget. And that's why I continue to do these videos. So that way, those of you that don't have the knowledge that you can't get in college, the knowledge of what happened to baby Gabriel, we keep his voice alive, we keep his memory alive, and we don't let individuals like Isauro Aguirre and Pearl Fernandez get away with what they did. Some of us can never forget. With that Netflix series going on, right? With that documentary about the case, those that watched it, they will never forget. I got halfway through it and decided to turn it off because it was just a little too much for me. So Isauro Aguirre is housed in Corcoran Prison. And just like Jay Carl, man, he's going to be going through some things continuously. But as time passes, man, it becomes less and less and less. There's a lot of people on the SNY yards that are not wanting to take the initiative to press him or do something bad to him. First and foremost, because they're not trying to catch time over a lame that's just going to continue to do time. Now, there's been opportunities for people to put holes in them. And there's been word on the curb that was going to take case years ago, but it never did. It never transpired. So either that guy is paying like he's Wayne or he's just doing his time and no one seems to be wanting to press him. It is what it is. Now, as far as the father goes of Gabriel Fernandez, if you don't know that story, that individual was in and out of Gabriel's life and was incarcerated at the time of Gabriel's murder. Okay. He was not able to facilitate any type of comfort towards his son, nor was he able to save his son from what was happening. He wasn't the shoulder to cry on because he cared more about his gang lifestyle, criminality, and going in and out of prison makes it a hardship. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't grow up the same way. I had a father that was in and out of prison my whole life. I distinctly remember as a young kid, man, going with my mother to Tehachapi prison, to trailer visits, to go visit my father. In fact, I remember the movie Rocky 3 was out, and I remember they were doing whatever they were doing in the room. That's their thing. You know, they were adults. And I was sitting there eating popcorn, watching Rocky 3, watching Clubber Lang beat the holy hell out of Sylvester Stallone, right? It's just what it was. So that's how far back I go. And my lifestyle was of my father being incarcerated was kind of the normal. You know, I loved my father, but at the same time, there was no telling my father what was going on in the household. It was kind of like just, hey, I was happy to see him when I seen him. When he would get out, he would slide through every once in a while with a present or two and then get to wiggling, right? That's just the lifestyle that a lot of Chicano, a lot of Mexican American, a lot of people, period, that have fathers that are incarcerated or mothers that are incarcerated have lived. Now, on the other side, the flip side, you know, I have primos where their moms was in and out of Chowchilla Valley State Prison for Women, and they would come stay at my grandmother's home or come stay with us. And it was kind of like they were living it in the reverse. Whereas their father was in and out of their life as well. Their mother was also in and out of their life because she was doing time. And it's a hardship growing up when you don't have either parent. Okay, when you got to rely on your tios and your tias and your grandmothers and your cousins to take care of you and to look out for you. It's kind of a fucked up situation, and it can only lead you down a dark, desolate road. Now, those that made it up out of that, those that thrived, those that, you know, took the initiative to go to school and to learn and to break that cycle, I give them the ultimate respects. I did not do that, right? Gabriel Fernandez did not get the chance for that. His father was in and out of his life, and he didn't make it because he had two people in that household that were taking advantage of the situation. See, Isauro Aguirre, I believe, would have never done anything like that had Gabriel's father been in the picture. But according to his own testimony at court, and he admitted the fact that he was going through some situations that he was rethinking everything and how he should have and could have been there for his son, but instead chose the street life, the gang life, the prison life, right? And so that took him up out the situation, whereas he could not be present, you know, be that person that Gabriel could rely on. You know, I remember a situation where my mother, right, she had a boyfriend. Let me tell you guys a story I've never told. What happened was my mom stood strong through all my dad's incarceration. She was a good woman. She raised her children on her own. She did what she had to do. She worked. And when she didn't work, you know, we received food stamps, all that, just like any other inner city kid, any other kid in poverty. But she did the best she could with what she had, right? Dear mama, ordered it Tupac, right? I respect it. Now, at the end of the day, right, mom got to do her thing. So after several years of incarceration, when my father got out, they decided mutually that it wasn't working out. After all the years of my mom waiting for this man was not going to change his ways. I could agree with that. I lived the same type of life for a lot of years, right? It's hard to change your ways when that's all you know or all you want to do. Children ain't going to stop it. Nothing's going to stop it, right? So as he continued to create fucking chaos with his criminality and his street ways, my mom decided to sit him down and tell him, hey, you could be in your kid's life to a certain degree, but we're going to move on from this chapter, right? And he agreed because he knew he wasn't trying to stop. And that was that. Now, at the same time, about a year, 2 years later, my mother decided, you know, that she had met someone new. And I remember he was a white guy, and I didn't appreciate the fact that he was a white guy. Not that I was racist, not that I had prejudice, but just the way he looked at me. Every time he seen me, the way he looked at all my mother's kids, I felt some type of prejudice coming off of him. Maybe I was wrong, maybe I was right. But I remember my mother being very interested in this man, so I gave him a chance. And he would come in and out of the household. You know, he didn't live with us. But one day my mother decided we were going to move to a place called Riverbank. It's in Stanislaus County by Modesto. Right now, growing up in Merced, I was against it. Hell no, but I was a young kid still, and I really wasn't gang affiliated or a part of that yet. So there was no concrete foundation there. It was kind of just like I go where mom's takes me, and that's just what it is. So I remember we moved to Riverbank, and everything that we owned, everything we had, I had a big collection of toys, wrestlers, and all this that I was into. And I'll never forget, it still taints me to this day. To this day, I still think about where the fuck my Hulk Hogan went, right? We moved in with this guy. Him and my mother got into one argument, and he kicked her and her 4 kids up out the home, right? And stole all our shit. We never got nothing back. And I remember that day, man, walking with my mother and not understanding how a grown man could do this to children, but there's a lot worse that get done. Case in point, Isauro Aguirre, right? A man that moved in with Pearl Fernandez and her son. That was her son's home. That wasn't her home. She was getting welfare. She was getting food stamps by the state. That was her son's home. See, that's what a lot of people don't realize. They think, oh man, this is my pad, man. The kid, no, that's the kid's home. You're only receiving AFDC and these benefits from the state because of that child. Get your lazy ass up and go get a job. But see, a lot of these people, they get Section 8, they get fucking welfare, they get food stamps, and it's all them, me. You know what I'm saying? There's one character, man, all living off of fucking AFDC, all living off Section 8 time. I got a nice pad. I only pay $120 for my pad. Yeah, right. No, your lady's kids got a nice pad. You just fucking got out of prison and leashed on with a chick that likes dudes with tattoos. That's all that is. And that's a fact, right? Because a lot of women like a bad boy, but what comes with bad is lazy. And lazy motherfuckers, right? But whatever. And I'm not pointing directly at one single particular person, but this story, man, is a lot of people's story. And the kids suffer because of that. When you got selfish people taking advantage of the system and living in the household and claiming everything to be them, the kids are on the back burner. They're secondary, right? And that's exactly how Gabriel was living. In his own home, this woman, this evil woman, Pearl, this monster, brought an evil man home. And he started to take advantage of the situation and made that home his. There was a lot of domestic violence in that situation. There was a lot of Gabriel being hurt, being ridiculed, being talked down upon, and ultimately being unalived and killed at the hands of his mother and his stepfather. Now, at the same time, where was the dad at? Is he to blame? Is Gabriel Fernandez's dad to blame? Absolutely, he is to blame. Just like if I had a child that I paid no attention to and something happened to her or him, right? Then I would blame myself. So why can't others, right? If you're not paying attention to your child, if you're in and out of the household, if you know the woman that you have a child with is a bad person, and that's the reason why your fucking relationship didn't work out in the first place, and you know she's hooked on dope, and you know she's fucking sleeping around with just weird men, and she's bringing people to your child's home, wouldn't you want to pay attention more to your child and figure out what's going on? Now, that doesn't mean in every case it's all bad. Some relationships just don't work out. You're not compatible. After a while, you see it just ain't gonna fucking work out, right? But at the same time, in the meantime, in between time, that's still your responsibility as a father or a mother to check on your child, to ask your child questions. See, a lot of people are too busy nowadays trying to be friends with their kids, trying to be homies. I see people smoking weed with their young underage children, drinking with them. Oh, I'm gonna give them a little jank or a little janky jank. You know what I'm saying? Nah, all that is bad. You're never your child's friend. Oh, my child's my best friend. Not me. I got a best friend. He's locked up. My child is my child, right? Your child, you're always going to be the parent, so you got to act like one. You got to ask these questions. You got to communicate. You got to put your foot down. You got to set a pattern in that kid's life that lets them know that there's a difference between me and your fucking little homies. Okay? Understand that. And as they get older and they develop the cognitive thinking and the understanding, they'll realize that you did it for a reason. It wasn't because you wanted to show dominance or you wanted to be a shot caller. It's because you fucking love them. Okay. Gabriel got no love in that household. He got abuse. He got shot with BB guns. He got talked down upon. And you know what the excuse was for Isauro Aguirre and Pearl? For Pearl, it was she was on drugs and she was not paying attention and she was battered and she was this and fuck her, right? No, what's wrong with her? She's an evil woman, very vindictive and evil, and still thinks highly of herself. I can't believe she's breathing, right? She breathes the same air we breathe, unfortunately. As far as Isauro, he's just as bad. This man did what he did to Gabriel because he believed Gabriel wasn't hardcore. Gabriel wasn't was leaning more towards maybe being a homosexual or whatever it is, right? Let me tell you something, man. Let that kid be what that kid wants to be. You're not his father. Who the fuck are you to change his ways of thinking or how he is? See, this is how I am. And I've always been asked that question. Well, what would you do if you had a son that was gay? Still my son. What can I do? But encourage him and give him the love and the encouragement that he needs. That's it. Would I be the happiest father in the world? Well, absolutely not. Just because I see my son as my son and not as my daughter, right? But at the same time, I'm not going to stop loving him. I'm not going to hate on him. I'm not going to hurt him or abuse him or kill him, right? Because they made a life choice or, they're a human being. They got a brain. They got blood flowing through their veins. They could do what they want to do. But at the same time, as long as they're not out there fucking hurting people and creating chaos and gaining that bad reputation that's going to destroy their life for the future, then I ain't got nothing bad to say, man. Mijo, do what you got to do. Just don't do it in my house. Porfas, right? That's it. You know what I'm saying? My farts stink bad enough. And that's just it, right? Now, as far as Gabriel's father, with this question, is he is guilty to some degree? He didn't kill his son, and I'm sure he loved his son and loves his son to this day, right? But he has to think back, really reflect and say, man, I could have been there. You know, imagine being locked up, incarcerated, and getting that phone call or getting that chaplain or whoever comes to your door, that cop, and says, hey, I got some bad news. You know, your mind's going, damn, you know, and it's happened to me before, and I'll explain it to you, but like he gets that call, he gets that knock on his door, and they tell him, hey, your little son was killed by his mother and his stepfather. Imagine the anger, all the emotions, right? And then you have to sit down, and when you finally sit down, you say, damn, look at me, look at around. I can't even get out to help. I can't even get out to be at the funeral. I can't even get out to plan for my kid. I don't even know where my kid's at right now. You know, I don't know what morgue he's at. I don't know what's going on. And all that is because of the choices that he was making and because of not paying attention, knowing that that was a wicked, evil woman, knowing that, you know, his child was in danger from the get-go. You know, because you can't sit there and say, oh, I didn't know, man. I thought everything was cool. Nah, it ain't always like that. You got to be up to par on everything. You know, I remember when they told me that my tío had passed away, man, a very close uncle of mine. He had been shot prior to me getting locked up, and I was just doing a few months in the county, right, out in Sandy Mush in Merced. But he had been shot, and he was recovering. He was paralyzed, but he was recovering. They took him to, I believe it was Manteca. They had a paraplegic hospital there. Everything was good, and then next thing you know, a sergeant's coming to my door talking about, hey, your uncle passed today. He ended up dying of pneumonia in his lung, right? He got sick, and because one of his lungs was shot out, the other one just couldn't do what it had to do, right? And I remember I was like, damn, I should be out there with the family. I wasn't able to make the funeral. I wasn't able to be out there because of the stupidity and the ways of what I'm doing. Here my uncle is getting shot by a gang member, right? And instead of saying, damn, make that an eye-opening experience, I got to get my shit together. What did I do? I went out there and I started gangbanging harder. Like that's what he would want me to do. Stupid, right? Now, I wanted to talk about also, you know, as far as Gabriel's father goes, you know, I could see him being very angry with Isauro, wanting to get back some revenge and not being able to, because now it's at a point where Isauro is protected from the father. I'm sure he has him on his enemy list. I'm sure they can't be placed on the same types of yards. And it boggles my mind. I've never kept up with his father to understand if he's still going in and out of prison, if he ever changed his ways, if that was the eye-opening experience that he needed to say, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with this street life. I'm done with this. You know, I got to be there for my child. You know, I got to, even for my child's memory, I got to do the right thing. But I don't know. So as far as these characters, you know, and father included, Gabriel's father included, right? With this whole situation, who's to blame? The system, the parents, Isauro, definitely Pearl. She's the worst one of all because as a mother, she allowed her son to be abused and killed in front of her. Okay? A mother's instinct is instincts of protection. You know, a father's a little bit different. Now, I'm a single father. I raise my children alone, man. I do the best that I can, right? But at the same time, you got to understand the mother just they carry the baby in the womb for 9 months. They got that connection right from the gate. Some do, some don't, but most do, right? Now, let me explain to you about keeping and peeping game on who the hell your baby's mom or your baby father is bringing to the house. You might think it's all cool and all good, man, but you need to be able to check someone. Case in point, right here, I got a baby's mother. And I'm in my child's life to the fullest. I mean, to the fullest, where I'm all up in the cheese, man. I'm all up in the shit, right? Because that's my kid, and I need to see who's around my kid. And she has an old man. She's actually pregnant by a dude. It's her old man. He's cool, right? He ended up being cool. The first time our interaction was quiet. The second time it was kind of mean muggish. The third time it was a handshake. The fourth time it was a hug. All right, brother, right? This is a good man. But it took a while to vet him. It took a while to question my kid. How is it? Little slick questions. How is it around the house? What's this guy up to? Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then peeping game from my own self and from my own eyes and questioning and then pulling them to the side straight up and telling them, look, whatever you got going on with your old lady, as long as you do it like this, you don't do like that, you don't do like that, you don't involve my kid, we're going to be good. Nah, it's good. And now we're at a point in our friendship. I consider him a friend where it's like, hey, what's up, bro? I can walk into his pad, like, what's happening? You know, that's how you want to be, a concerned parent, someone who's interested, someone who wants to know, because I love my kid and I care. Okay, what happened with Isauro and baby Gabriel's father and Pearl was a fucked up situation. And the only one that really suffered, because I don't feel sorry for the father. I know he's like, I lost my kid. Hey, fucking, yeah. You lost your kid when you started getting locked up and you weren't being there for your kid. That's when you lost your kid. You chose to not to lose your kid. You weren't there anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered, right? As far as Pearl, she's a fucking bitch. We already know what's up with her. She's worse than Willie Lumpbutt. Well, they're about the same. And as far as Isauro Aguirre goes, he's a monster. He's a monster that took advantage of the situation and punished a child because he was mad at the mother. He gets no fucking love at all, man. What will happen to Isauro in the future? Only the future will tell. What will happen to Pearl while she's dancing around, prancing around with piercings and makeup on? She thinks she's the shit, right? And she's protected, so nothing will happen to her. As far as Isauro, Gabriel's father, I don't know, man. I hope that he got his life together and he's doing well. But for the question, the roundabout, to get back to it, who's to blame? Everybody, except for Gabriel. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I honestly and truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people, man. This video is sponsored by Vario Liquors out there in Turlock, California. If you're in the area, in the Central Valley, in the 209, tap in, man. Go to Vario Liquors and get you something cold to drink. Also by Sticks and Stones Yard Service out there in the big state of AZ. If you're in Arizona, Google Sticks and Stones Yard Service, and if he's in your immediate area, he'll pull up and hook you up. Let's support our local business owners. Let's support the gente. Bang, bang.